Hello everyone, and welcome to Changeling Gaming! Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Mind Your Business. Mind Your Business is a level 2 pick-up-and-play experienced family travel game designed by Art Casey and published by Envy Born Games for 1 to 2 players, or 4 if you have both boxes, that takes on average 30 to 45 minutes to play. Mind Your Business is a competitive or cooperative game about collecting the resources that remain in a semi-abandoned mine. Your gnomes must scurry about and collect their desired goodies into their minecarts as quickly as possible to claim success. There are multiple variants in this game, from competitive to solo to cooperative. All the rules here are for 1 to 2 players. See the rulebook, page 26 through 29, for the changes to 3 to 4 players with the second box of the game. Setup: competitive. Shuffle the deck of mine cards and deal them out into a 4x4 grid, randomly rotating the cards while placing them. Place your gnomes and their carts at opposite corners of the mine to start, like so. Each player also receives a set of bonus action cards. Randomly determine which player receives which player aid, and whichever player receives the card with the star goes first. How to play: competitive. The goal of the game is to gather more cards from the mine than any other player. On a player's turn, they take 3 actions, aiming to either set up for future turns or load their cart with as many cards as possible. These actions include move, where the player's gnome moves 1 card vertically or horizontally, but not into a space with the opponent's gnome. Rotate, where the player rotates the card their gnome is on to any other orientation of their choice. Swap, where the player swaps the card their gnome is on with a vertically or horizontally adjacent card, keeping their relative orientations the same, but not with the card that has the opponent's gnome. Note that a player can also use the rotate and swap actions with campfire cards, as if their gnome was present on those cards, but not if the opponent's gnome is on that space. Load, where the player loads their minecart, following the line of connected identical resources as far as possible from their minecart and claiming every one of those cards for their score. The player's gnome does not need to be physically connected to these cards or the cart in order to use this action. Cards under an opponent's gnome are still claimed with this action. Players can still move through and swap with empty spaces. After taking their 3 actions, the player may read the sign present at their location if any such sign is present. If this sign allows the gnome to move to a location with another sign, the player can also read that sign if they want, continuing until they choose to no longer read the signs or have no signs to read. The signs that can be read include move twice, which allows the player to move up to 2 extra spaces. Rotate 2 adjacent cards to any orientation you wish, though not including the space an opponent is on. Swap 2 cards adjacent to the card with the sign without rotating them, though not including the space an opponent is on. Move to a corner or campfire that doesn't have an opponent on it. Load the cart with 1 good being wild, meaning the chain can include 1 good that does not match the rest of the chain. Once the signs have been read, the player's minecart moves 1 space further around the outside of the mine, turning the corner when applicable. After moving the minecart, refill any emptied slots in the mine with cards from the deck, being sure to also randomize their orientations as the cards are being placed. The bonus cards can be used at any time for free, but once used, they are flipped over and cannot be used again. This bonus card gives the player an extra 2 actions for their current turn. This bonus card behaves similarly to a swap action, but instead swaps the gnome's current location with the card in front of their minecart. This bonus card prevents the minecart from moving for 1 turn. The game continues until each player's minecarts would turn their second corner, which is their minecart's exit. The game also finishes if the mine cannot be fully refilled because the minecart deck is empty. Both players count up how many cards they've collected, and whoever has more wins! Ties are broken first by whoever has more gem cards, then by whoever has more gold cards, with a true tie if both are equal. Scoring variant. The more strategic scoring variant changes the value of the mine cards being collected. To determine these values, during setup, shuffle the cards with the bag on the back and begin flipping the cards until 5 have been flipped. If every one of those 3 resources has a card, then stop here. But if only 1 or 2 types are flipped, keep flipping until all the resources are accounted for. The number of cards for each resource determines the value of that resource. When tallying the score at the end of the game, each card is valued for all the resources printed on it. Sum the values on all the cards, and whoever has the highest total wins! Setup: Solo/Cooperative. Shuffle the deck of mine cards and deal them out into a 4x4 grid, randomly rotating the cards while placing them. Shuffle the mine hazards and place one face down in each corner beyond the first. The minecart is placed at a single corner, with the first or solo player gnome in front of it, and the second gnome in the next space if playing cooperative. Gain one set of bonus cards for the game. If playing cooperative or solo with the goblin variant, shuffle the deck of bag cards and grab the goblin token. In the solo variant, the goblin is placed just off the board at the far corner from the entrance. For cooperative gameplay, the goblin is placed in the same spot, but lying down. How to play: Solo/Cooperative. The goal is to collect the most mine cards possible, with various counts indicating the various levels of success, though a minimum of 30 cards are required to win. Play is the same as in the competitive mode, where a player takes 3 actions on their turn, which are the same as the competitive version, with one additional option: Reveal. The player can flip the card their gnome is present on, or a horizontally or vertically adjacent card, getting to choose its orientation as they flip the card. Players then read any signs on their space, move their cart one space, and refill any empty spaces in the mine. When moving the cart, if the cart turns a corner, then flip over the card, matching its orientation to the mine, and then carry out the effects on the card. These will either move the minecart forwards, send the gnome back to the entrance of the mine and lose an action, or swap around or remove mine cards in varying patterns throughout the mine. After the mine is refilled, the goblin activates. In solo play, the first time the goblin activates, simply move it onto the board. In cooperative play, stand the goblin upright the first time it activates, and move it onto the board the second time it activates. Every time the goblin activates while it is on the board, flip the top card of the bag deck. Compare the resource on the card to the space the goblin is on. If it matches, use the goblin actions in the first space. If it does not, and a blank counts as not matching, then use the second box. Apply both of these actions from right to left. However, if the goblin cannot complete any of the actions in its current box, then use the third backup box on the right. These are OR actions. Apply the top action first if possible, and if it isn't, then apply the bottom action. These actions are: rotate the goblin's card 90 degrees in the direction of the arrow. Move the goblin one space as depicted by the arrow. If the goblin moves onto a campfire space, flip it face down. Gobble the longest resource chain from the goblin's space, flipping those cards over to the blank side. If there is a tie, the goblin prioritizes flipping gem cards down, then gold, then coal. Hunt by moving towards the nearest gnome. If this movement matches the direction of the arrow, then the goblin moves 2 spaces. Note that in instances where this is tied, the players get to break the tie and determine which of the goblin's movement options it chooses. Call adjacent resources, rotating nearby cards to align their resources with the resources on the goblin's current card where possible. Swap the goblin's card with an adjacent card, according to the top arrow on the card. The game continues until either the minecart returns to its original position, or the goblin moves into a space with the player's gnome, gobbling the gnome and causing an instant loss. In the first situation, count up the number of acquired minecards and use the table in the section of the rules for the version you are playing to determine whether you were successful and how successful you are. There is an additional variant for solo play where the second gnome piece is used as an additional enemy known as the Mine Owner. Set up the Mine Owner and the goblin on the cards like so, and stand them up after the player's first turn. In future turns, resolve the goblin's movement card for both the Mine Owner and the goblin in that order, though the goblin is only placed on the board once the Mine Owner has moved away from its starting space, and the goblin will move on all future turns. Note that the Mine Owner and goblin cannot share a space, and if the Mine Owner moves into the player's space, the player is sent back to the start and loses all their currently gathered cards, shuffling them back into the mine deck instead of losing immediately. The Mine Owner and goblin cannot share a space, meaning actions that would have them share a space are not possible. 25 cards are needed to win this version. The rules to scale up every version are available near the back of the rulebook. Largely, this involves increasing the mine's grid and using both games' goblins in cooperative play. So go out and delve deep for the resources and minerals that will earn you fame and fortune, so you can return to your village as the most impressive gnome miner around in Mine Your Business. Be sure to support your local game stores. For us, that is Board Game To Go, who offer over 2,000 games for rental within the Toronto area and many games for purchase. If you want to check out games like this one, check out the link in the description. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to pose them in the comments below, or take a look to see if someone else has already answered it down there, and be sure to thank them if they have. If you want to learn more about what a ranking system means, check out this video here. And if you want to learn how to play more games, check out our playlist here. And subscribe to learn when new videos come out. And remember, keep changing, keep gaming, have fun. Bonus tip, leverage signs as much as possible to take actions you would have to on your turn, though forethought is really important here.